And we're done. The 1966 AMT Mustang hardtop. And you'll notice that the wheels don't match the ones that come in the box. And we'll get to that in a minute. It's finished. And I'll give you a quick scroll around here of the finished product. I think the proportions of the AMT body are spot on. It winds up being a pretty decent representation. Of a Mustang. So, how did it go? How was the build? Well, it was not without some challenges. But there are some things that surprise me about it. It really doesn't go together bad, considering the vintage of this kit. It's a very old tool, right from the 1960s. Those chrome headlights, I mean, that's one thing that you're going to find in this kit. There's no clear lenses for the headlights. The wheels are Keystone Classics. I got from, I don't even know where. That was in my parts box for ages, and they had the proper fitment for the axles in the back, so I went with those. Those are the tires from the kit. They are different sizes, front and rear, which I wasn't really wild about, but they look okay. It does give the car a bit of a jacked up look. I thought about trying to cut new holes in for the steel axle in the back to lower it a little bit, maybe to make it more level, but with the offset size tires, I don't think that would probably be a good idea. The tires are F60s in the front, L60s in the back. Everything else other than the license plates is what came with the kit. Painting on the detail for the side scoops, that's a lot of fun. They don't give you much relief to do that. Those are not separate pieces. Front and rear valance have the potential to fit very well. You'll see the gap there. There is some issue putting the front pieces together with this kit because, as I noted in the little segment right before this thing probably used to be either a promo or a screw together, and that causes some issues with putting these pieces together. The radiator support probably should be put in as late as possible. I may have put it in a little too early, and then I found that the front valance didn't want to go back maybe as far as it should have, but when I test fitted it previously, it had fit just fine. The rear valance fits pretty good. You'll have to do some creative gluing to get that to stay in place, but mine currently is just snapped into place. I didn't bother gluing it because it seems to fit pretty well. So let's move on to the interior, and I did show you some of that before, that this is a 3-pedal floor, but the console has the notations for the automatic. It has the Prindle, as I call it. And I went ahead and decided to embrace the suck and use the automatic shifter. There is an automatic T-handle shifter on the chrome tree. And so I decided to use that, despite the fact that it has 3 pedals. And, you know, I didn't like the shifter that it came with because it wasn't correct. And just, you know, me and you folks watching this video are probably the only people who'll ever notice. Once this thing's in the display case, nobody's going to notice that. So I decided not to stress over it. The windows, it really shows here in the video, but I probably would recommend that you cut the runners off. I cut the one off because it wasn't connected and it was hanging down. You might want to just cut those apart and just glue the windows in separately. It's not as bad in real life as it looks right here. I mean, look at that. I know that looks terrible, but sitting here looking at it off the camera, you really can't see it. I don't know why it shows up in the camera footage, but it does. Let's see, what else can I tell you? It comes with the mirrors, those Talbot style mirrors, and I think that's about it. The front and turn signals and reverse lights are molded into the valances. Taillights, of course, are separate. Rear emblem, gas cap is part of the body. So let's take the hood off. And get a look under the hood. So this is where you really notice 1960s AMT. Notice the big fender gaps to the fenders. No shock towers. So this thing's not at all accurate under the hood. It's not even trying to be. The engine's not bad, although I will tell you that the fit of the engine parts, there's a lot of big gaps in there. And this stuff just doesn't, I mean, it goes and glues together okay, but like the timing cover, it sticks off the front, and everything's just kind of a mess. Once it's painted, it's not too bad. My distributor in the proper location hits the air cleaner, which it should not do. The air cleaner, the valve covers and the alternator and the fan are chrome in the kit. I dechromed those, painted the valve covers aluminum, and then gave them a little wash. So you can see the detail. They actually came out pretty nice. But the radiator support and so on is not correct. The battery, I don't think is supposed to sit in that position. I think it goes against the fender well in the real car. And then there's a lot of ugliness down here between the radiator support and the grille. I've complained about this in other kits, not necessarily AMT. MPC is really bad for some of these. But I cut out there's two strange tabs on the back of where the grille sits that I guess are supposed to be for you to attach the grille. It looks like it should have pins that go through them. But they serve no purpose. You can glue the grille on just along the bottom, and you don't need those tabs, and they're really ugly. So I just cut them off, got rid of them. And then there's the giant tabs for the bumper and front valance that poke through where they would have met the screws in the original kit. Not a whole lot you can do about those. Potentially you could cut those off and try to get rid of them, but there's not really anything else in there that's going to look any better, so I don't know that you really want to worry about it. This upper radiator hose, I just went to put this on right before I filmed this and realized that there's a giant sink mark in it, and it's on the side that sticks up. Why the heck did they do that? Come on. You guys could have put that sink mark on the bottom side of the radiator hose. We would not have seen it. So that's annoying. What else about the engine bay? I guess that's really it. The firewall, it's got a bunch of detail molded into it, but it's so fine, picking it out with a paint pen or anything is next to impossible. There's some stuff on top of the fender wells, again, not correct and very faint, not really worth picking out. I did pick out the very, very tiny master cylinder sitting there in a squashed booster, but this is a kit that, like these old things, you'll probably never want to take the hood off unless you're using a different chassis, and we'll talk about that a little bit here. The interior, of course, very simplistic. The seats are terrible. The factory seats should have chrome pieces along the sides for the hinging, and these have no detail whatsoever to pick out with paint or anything. So, although they do have the pony package seats and it's embossed in there, it's okay. You can see it. The steering wheel can be made to look decent. Sorry, I don't have very good lighting there. Dashboard, it's okay. It has detail you can pick out. The door panels are really weak. You can pick the handles out. That's kind of it. So the interior also, not really something you're going to want to spend a lot of time on for this one. And I'll pause this and we'll turn it over and look at the bottom. Okay, the magic of paint here on the bottom, because all of this, for the most part, is just molded into the undercarriage. obviously the engine and transmission are separate, but the suspension all molded in. The back half of the transmission molded to the floor pan. Exhaust system molded to the floor pan. Shock absorbers, rear axle, muffler, gas tank, it's all just part of the floor pan. So you got to get out your paintbrush and pick out these details. You also have, of course, the solid metal axle that runs through the oil pan on the engine. You know, that's always fun. Again, we're taking a ride in the Wayback Machine, so I can't really beat this thing up too bad because it's a 1966 tool. So, you know, it is what it is. To get the rear valance to fit, this kit has the exhaust is molded in kind of like a Shelby in that these tailpipes are supposed to meet behind the gas tank. They kind of go together, and then it gives you that option for that center exit exhaust with the custom rear roll pan. I did not find that the valance wanted to fit with that extra small ridge of plastic on there. I had to take the Dremel and cut that off. And that's how I got my rear valance to fit. So if you look in there, you know, it's all straight across now. But you might have to trim yours too to make that work. So floor pan, you know, you can make it look a little bit better. But again, not a whole lot happening here. Okay, here's some building notes. I was doing a dry fit to try to get the final assembly done, and there's some things I want to point out to you folks. This kit was either originally based on a promo, or it was a kit that had screws that held it together. But you can tell by these big posts down in here, and also in the front, you'll see where these big tabs for the bumper and valance are. If you look on the chassis, you'll see where the screw holes used to be in the old mold. There is none in the back though, so I'm not exactly sure what the story there is, but this is not exactly intuitive how you put it together. And this is what I would suggest you do, is do what I did. Put the valance in first, and you slide the bumper in. And the same with the front. The front valance has little locator pins, which is really nice. But the problem is, if you're trying to do this with the radiator support and the firewall on the chassis, or trying to figure out where they go, it's going to be confusing as all get out. The instructions don't really clearly tell you how to do this. Put the valances and the bumpers together first, and then you'll see where the radiator support actually glues into the back of the headlight mounts. And there's slots there too, which I think there was long pins on the original headlights. And then the firewall is really baffling because there's some slots in it on the top side that look like they should be for hood hinges. But the hood hinges are mounted too far forward on the hood to utilize the slots that are in that. So I don't know what they're there for. There's a very, very light mark. You can kind of see it there on each side of the inside of the body that shows you where the firewall is supposed to mount. But it's a little confusing. I think I figured it out. So back to the review. So I had a thought, and the thought was that AMT's body is really nice, but the rest of the kit's, you know, antiquated. Could you get a Revell monogram Mustang and adapt it to fit the chassis? And use if you got the convertible, you could probably use the interior tub too. Well, I thought about that and thought, wouldn't that be nice if that would happen? But we have a problem. As you can tell here, the wheelbase is not the same between the two kits. Now, you could, I suppose, if you're really creative, get one of these Revell monograms and shorten the floor pan a little bit. And it might be, you know, it's not off a lot, but, you know, if you look there at the rear wheels, you'll see just how far off that is. So it's probably not easy to do and probably not going to happen. So that's unfortunate. I don't know if you could use any of the pieces or not. You really probably can't. I mean, maybe some of the interior parts like the seats and maybe the dash if it's better and that kind of thing. But ultimately, yeah, it's not a slam dunk. I also think the floor pan on the Revell monogram, the red car is going to be wider too. So brilliant idea, but yeah, it's not that easy. If you've attempted this or have accomplished this, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear. So there's the finished product and my review. If you go into this with low expectations, I think you'll be okay. But it's not a builder's kit. If you're looking for accuracy and attention to detail in this thing, and something that's going to require a fair amount of detail work and painting and so on, this is not the kit. Find a Revell monogram one. Unfortunately, they don't make a hardtop, and therefore you might have to pick this up if that's what you're looking for. Now, is it terrible for what it is? No. The fit is actually pretty good for most of it. The hood actually fits really well. I didn't have to do much other than the final assembly was a little cantankerous, as I mentioned, but otherwise it's not bad. It comes with stock hubcaps, as you should have seen in the unboxing video, and some Shelby, 68 Shelby style wheels that I didn't care for, and the rears are really molded deep. I think they would stick out. It just doesn't look like they would fit very well. The ones that I've seen on the internet that were built, I didn't care for the fit. So I toyed around with a bunch of different wheels, and I had these Keystones that I've been wanting to use, and I thought they looked pretty decent on this one. So I went with, I didn't want to do black interior, although this car probably wouldn't be a bad one to do because there's not much detail there. Some on the red interior, and a white car. Not my most original color scheme, but I thought it would work well with the limited detail and kind of hide some of its flaws. And so here we have this car, and it looks pretty good now that it's done. I mean, it's going to be nice to have in the display case. Doesn't look bad, but it is a 1960s kit. So as always, I'm happy that Round 2 churns out these things and brings back these old molds and gives us another shot at them instead of having to pay collector prices for this stuff, because I don't know why anybody would pay $50 for one of these old kits, at least not to build it. But it's finished product here. Speaks for itself, I think. It's good. It was very good for its age, I think. They really put their time and effort into doing the body work. And the bumpers don't fit bad, which is kind of a tough thing sometimes with these Mustangs. So, what more can I say? If you can pick one up for a reasonable price, probably worth doing. Again, the only hardtop in 1/25th that I know of right now. And this thing has been reissued multiple times, and you can probably get, if you can't find this version, there was a couple older versions. There's one with a powder blue built model on the cover that you'll find. Those you can come across. And then there's the absolutely hideous one that's green with reflective decals. It has different wheels in it. I think it has like basket weave wheels or something for the alloys. So there's options out there. This is not currently shown as available in the catalog, so you might have to go hunting a little bit to find it, but they are out there. So I hope that was helpful. Please leave your comments below if you've built this kit. Love to hear what your impressions were. Please subscribe to get more Mustang and other Ford model kit builds, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks for watching.